Bhakti Yoga, chapter number 12. Unitive devotion and contemplation. See, bhakti has often been confused with emotional sentimentalism, the way of the soft-hearted person. But people like Shankaracharya, Narayana Guru, they have given a different definition to bhakti. They call it Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. Constant reflection on one's own true nature is bhakti. And Narayana Guru says, Swa Atma Anusandhanam. Anusandhan means to constantly reflect, think about. So constant reflection on one's own Atman, that is bhakti. Or constant reflection on one's own true self, Swaswarupa. Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. This is bhakti. That makes it a contemplative discipline. To be a bhakta means to be a contemplative person, constantly thinking about one's own nature, constantly reflecting on the Atman, then you will be called a true bhakta. And in this chapter 12 also we will see, in the last few verses, Krishna gives the definition of a bhakta. It is not at all like the bhakta we see going to the temple, external bhakti, no marks, no external worship, but it is an internal transformation, internal state of mind that defines a true bhakta. And in the scheme of the Gita, we have crossed over the most subtle parts where the highest teaching was given. Now we are being given many compromises for people who are not able to think of that high abstract absolute. For them, many alternatives are suggested in this chapter. And also the question of which is more superior, meditating on the formless God or worshipping God with form. So Krishna says the formless is definitely superior, but it is very hard to meditate on the formless. And therefore, for a yogi to worship God with form is accepted. As we have said in the past, yoga implies bipolarity. On one side you put yourself, the devotee, the aspirant, the sadhaka, and on the other side you think of the absolute, God, as your counterpart, and you establish a bipolar relationship. Constantly reflecting, meditating on your relationship with God. This is yoga. Yogic relationship is a relationship between the individual person, the Jivatman, with the Paramatman, with the ultimate goal that the Jivatma will one day unite with the Paramatma. That is Advaita philosophy. Advaita means there is essentially no duality. The sense of duality that we feel is due to our ignorance, upadhi, limiting adjuncts. Because of our mind, our senses, inner organs, they create so much variety, fragmentations, and we are attached to them. We are attached to that which is not real. And that creates this sense of separation from the Lord. Actually, God is the very essence of our being. It is because of God that we are able to live, we are able to breathe, we are able to carry out all the functions of the body. We are able to open our eyes, we go to sleep at night, we are woken up in the morning. All these are possible because of an intelligence which is operating inside us, which is monitoring us, which is controlling us, which is the same as Lord. And we have to tune ourselves with that intelligence. That is the yogic exercise. The yogic discipline is to get in touch with our own intelligence, the Lord within, the divine within. And for that we have been given so many techniques so far to move away from the world of change. Vishaya, bhoga. Vishaya means the objects which are temporary, which are constantly transforming. We have to understand their nature and distinguish, have viveka, have the ability to discriminate between what is lasting and what is fleeting, what is transforming, what is temporary. This is the background. And with that background, we are given these different sadhanas, the methods, the yogic method. Krishna is considered as the Yogeshwara in the Gita, as the Ishvara of yoga, the Lord of yoga. And yoga is praised as the most superior. It is superior to knowledge, it is superior to action, it is superior to devotion. It's to become a yogi, have a yogic lifestyle. So here we come to the question raised by Arjuna. He says, Evam satata yuktaye bhaktas tvam pariyupasate. Ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. In the last chapter, we ended with the praise of Krishna. Krishna says, be devoted to me. He who does actions that are mine, whose supreme is myself, whose devotion is to me, devoid of attachment, free from enmity to all beings, he reaches me. So in continuation with that idea, Arjuna asks if those who are thus united, who are united in this manner, satatam, satata means always, ever, bhaktas tvam pariyupasate, bhaktas, the devotees, tvam pariyupasate. Upasana means to do worship. Upasana and dhyana, these are the two methods. Upasana is when we are worshipping an external form. Dhyana is when we are contemplating within ourselves. Of these yogis or these devotees who are eternally devoted to you, devoted to the Lord, and who are always worshipping you, of these devotees, who is superior? Those who worship you as Aksharam. Akshara means that which is perishable. Akshara means that which can never perish, the imperishable. So some superior yogi, some superior mind is able to meditate on that imperishable nature of the Absolute. And the avyakta. Vyakta means that which is manifesting, which we can see in front of us, which we experience. That is vyakta. And avyakta means that which has not manifested, which is in a potential state, but it hasn't manifested. So it requires a very subtle mind, great intelligence to be able to meditate on the unmanifested and the imperishable. So those devotees who worship you ever unitively, and those again who meditate on the imperishable and the unmanifested, of them which excels in yoga knowledge. So when he says worship you, he is referring to those who worship Krishna with form. And those who worship the imperishable, Akshar and Avyakt, which of these two is superior in yoga knowledge? You see, we have so many conflicts in religious life or spiritual life. The people who follow rituals, people who follow the path of knowledge, people who follow the path of action, people who follow the path of meditation, Raj Yoga. So each one believes that that path is the superior path. And that path is going to lead you to the goal, is going to lead you to salvation. And here too the same question arises in Arjuna's mind, that of these two paths, worshipping God with form and meditating on the imperishable, which of these two is superior? And see, Bhagavan says, Maya aveshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayo petaste me yukta tama mataha. Those with minds entered into me, who unitively meditate on me, with a fervor pertaining to the Supreme, those according to me are the most unitively attuned in yoga. So when he says entered into me, aveshyamayi, and nitya yukta, ever unitively, this suggests bipolar reciprocity with faith. There is a deep bipolarity of reciprocity on the side of the devotee and the side of the Lord. Not just a religious devotion to an object, that isn't enough. But you have to have a deep sense of uniting with the Lord and penetrating, as it were. You think of the Lord as penetrating into you, you are penetrating into the Lord. And you are united with the God and God is united with you. So that bipolar or reciprocity, that is necessary. Ever unitively, with a fervor pertaining to the Supreme. Shraddha, Shraddha means devotion. Those according to me are the most unitively attuned in yoga. So he makes it clear that those who have this ability to be unitively united or constantly meditating, those are the yogis who are properly attuned. You see, the personal God and impersonal God. Religion has a personal God. It becomes an instrument. It becomes our medium to relate with the higher self, higher values. God is without form and God is everywhere. God is not confined to the temple. God is not sitting in heaven. God is pervading everything. And so in that form in which He pervades, it is a subtle form. Means so fine, finer than the air, finer than the gas, finer than even the atom, so minute that it cannot be seen by any instrument. It cannot be detected by any instrument. So it appears to be invisible. But if we have that ability to purify our minds and to become devotees, then what happens is, from within us we can experience that God. We experience it. We can intuitively understand it. For that we have to become unitively affiliated. We have to have this bipolar relationship based on faith and with a fervor, shraddha. We have a complete trust. With that shraddha, we are able to have our relationship or have that experience. Ye tva aksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatragam achintayam cha kudastam achalam dhruvam. Now he speaks about those who have the higher powers to think, those who meditate on the imperishable, the undefinable, the unmanifested, the all-pervasive, the thought-transcending, the firmly established, the immobile, the constant. Having restrained all sense aggregates, regarding all with equalized understanding, interested in the well-being of all creatures, they reach me too. So he says aksharam, as we know, aksharam means that which can never be destroyed, imperishable. Anirdeshyam, that means we cannot define it. It is beyond the power of words. No word can adequately define. If you can understand that the Lord is so incomprehensible that no word can actually define it. Only a silence can define it. Those seers who have understood the truth, they go into silence because they discover that no amount of words will ever be able to explain. Even in our own lives, sometimes we have an experience which is so profound, we find we don't have a word to describe what we have experienced. So words have a limitation. Language has its own limitations. So when you say it is beyond the power of concepts, it's undefinable. And then avyaktam, unmanifested. Sarvatragam means all-pervasive. It is in everything. And achintayam. Chinta means to think, thought. Achintaya means that which cannot be thought of. It is beyond thought, thought transcending. And kudastam. Kudastam is something which is firmly established. Achalam. Chala means that which is moving, mobile. Achala means that which is immobile. And dhruvam, constant. If it is everywhere, it has no movement. It is immobile. And since it is eternal, it is constant. Dhruva. One of the stars which are constantly shining is called Dhruva Nakshatra. Samniyamendriya gramam sarvatra samabuddhayaha te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. And these are the qualities. Having restrained all sense aggregates, samniyamendriya gramam. Indriyas are the sense organs, and gramam means all the sense organs. Sarvatra samabuddhayaha. Sarvatra means regarding all. Sama always means equal. When you say samadhi, it means our buddhi has become steadied. So samadhi, you are seeing equality, you see the sameness in everything. That is a samadhi. And samabuddhayaha means your buddhi, your understanding has become equalized. You begin to regard all with equalized understanding. Rataha means interested. Sarva bhuta hite. Hita means always the well-being, and bhutas means all beings. So a universal consciousness comes in. Any spiritual person automatically starts feeling a universal consciousness, that he is interested in the welfare of all. Even Krishna is called Jagat Guru. He is not called the Guru of any particular group. He says Jagat Guru. Gita is called a universal book for mankind. All mankind can benefit from these teachings. So they have a universal nature. Te prapnuvanti mameva. They too reach me. Now this path unfortunately has a lot of difficulties. When you say klesha, klesha means obstacles or difficulties. Kleshas and klishtas. On the path of spirituality, we encounter what is known as kleshas and klishtas. These are egoism, asmita, alasya, nidra. These negative tendencies that are there, laziness, asmita, egoism, and abhinivesha, clinging to life, and ragadvesha, attachments and hatreds, repulsions and attractions. All these conditionings which are deep-seated in the human personality, they are what is known as the kleshas. They become the obstacles. So he says, klesho adhikaras tesham avyakta asakta chetasam. To those who have their chetaha or their minds, chetas is the relational mind, asakta means they have become attached or conjoined to the avyakta. Those whose minds is fixed on this avyakta, on that unmanifested, they will experience a lot of kleshas, lot of difficulties, because the unmanifested is very hard for the embodied to reach. When we have a body, we have so many bodily needs and so many bodily limitations, and they become obstacles in trying to experience that avyakta. So we are first humans. We have to acknowledge the fact that first of all, primarily we are all human beings, and then only we are yogis. So the human limitations and the human conditions, they are bound to create obstacles in the practice of yoga. So that is acknowledged. That though this avyakta, this unmanifested path is superior, yet for an embodied person, it is very hard to reach. This is number 6. Yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyena eva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Tesham aham samudartha mrityu sansara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya aveshi chetasam. For those who worship me, so from this verse 6 onwards up to 12, you will see a graded references are given to persons of different temperaments. From the most difficult, you will find easier and easier methods are given. For people who don't have the ability to follow the difficult path, they are given alternatives. Those who worship me, renouncing all actions in me, regarding me supreme, meditating on me by that yoga exclusive of all else. For them whose minds have entered into me, I become I along, O Partha, the savior out of the ocean of death and repeated cyclic existences. So this is the highest yoga, where the mind has become fully devoted to the exclusion of everything else, ananyena eva, and matparaha, regarding me supreme, dhyayantaha mam, meditating on me, and sanyasya sarva karmani. You have renounced all actions. See, in the absolute there is no action, there is no karma. So you become one of those real sages who does not have to do anything. And you are established in that state of divine consciousness all the time. That is possible by the supreme yoga. When everything else is excluded in a person's life, he has only one goal, and that is to be united with the Supreme. And he is constantly only meditating on the Supreme. So he becomes that. He joins. For them whose minds have entered into me, I become I along, the savior, out of the ocean of death and repeated cyclic existences. So from the side of the aspirant is the aspiration, the sadhaka. And from the side of God comes the savior. He comes as a savior and lifting him out of the samsara sagara. When a person is in samsara sagara, he has to be lifted out of the samsara sagara and taken into samvit sagara. When we go into samvit sagara, it means the ocean of knowledge, the ocean of pure consciousness, samvit, we are emancipated. Otherwise, people fall into the samsara sagara. If you fall into samsara sagara, what is the problem? Cyclic repetition of birth and death. So, Lord comes as a savior. When the aspirant makes that supreme sacrifice or supreme yajna or the supreme meditation, the Lord also comes as the savior. Mayyeva mama adhyasva, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivashyasi mayyeva ata urdhvam na samshayaha. Now in this 8th verse, he says, if you are not able to do that, if you are not able to have that one-pointed, exclusive yoga, then you can place your mind in me only. Let your higher reason enter into me. You shall without doubt thereafter live in me. So that is the second alternative. That is, we place our mind in the Lord. Place our mind in the Lord. Buddhim niveshaya. And even the buddhi, higher reason, Mind is the coordinating faculty, you can say. Higher than the mind is the buddhi. If you see the Katha Upanishad, they have the analogy of a chariot. There is a chariot with horses, a charioteer, and the Supreme Sovereign is sitting in the chariot. That is the soul. The chariot is like the body. The charioteer is like the buddhi. And the reins are the mind. And the horses are the indriyas, the sense organs. The horses are ever eager to run out of control, as it were. And the roads are the sense objects. Horses always want to be on the road. Senses want to be with the sense objects. But the buddhi, the charioteer, always has to keep the senses in check with the help of the mind. The mind are the reins. And then the journey is smooth. So when we check the mind and place the mind in the Lord, and with the buddhi also we enter into the mind, the buddhi becomes an instrument of the soul or instrument of the spirit. The buddhi does not help the mind in its contrivings. Then you say you are coming closer. Then you shall start living in me. You start living in the Lord. Nivashayasi ata urdhvam na samshayat. There is no doubt that you shall live in me alone. Now if you have difficulty performing that, you have given another alternum. Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichhaptum dhananjaya. Abhyasa means a repetitive practice. Earlier also, in the 6th chapter, we see Krishna says, Abhyasena vairagyacha. Abhyasa means constant, repetitious practice. So with this practice, if you are unable to fix your thoughts steadily on me, then by means of unitive assent, seek to reach me, O Dhananjaya. Samadhatum chittam, to fix your thoughts. Chitta again means the thinking faculty. And sthiram mayi. Sthira is something which is steady. Fixing the thoughts steadily on the Lord through abhyasa yoga, through the means of unitive ascent. Just like a peak that we are climbing, we are on the base camp in the beginning and we have to climb up bit by bit by bit. So that is the ascent. By abhyasa, with the help of practice, we are raising ourselves. Ichha aptum mam, seek to reach me. So the peak here is the Lord, and we are trying to ascend and to be united with the Lord with the help of this abhyasa yoga. But if you happen to be even incapable of abhyasa, then what do you do? Abhyasa api asamartho asi mat karmo paramo bhava madartham api karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. But if you are incapable of this abhyasa, that means you are still caught in the world of actions, then perform these actions for my sake. If you happen to be incapable even of practice, then become one whose every action belongs to me, the Supreme. Even doing work for my sake, you shall attain to perfection. So whatever work is done, we think, I am doing this work for the sake of the Lord. This attitude also will eventually take you to perfection. Athai etad api ashakto asi kartum mad yogam ashritah sarva karma phalatyagam tatah kuru yat atmavan. And if you are unable to even do this, then take the next step, that is take refuge. Ashritaha. Ashrita means taking refuge, taking shelter. As an individual being, inside your heart, inside your mind, you just say, I take refuge. I take ashraya of the Lord. And then what do? I also renounce the benefit of my actions. If you are unable to do this, then seek refuge for your individuality in my unitive being, renouncing the benefits of all action as one of controlled self. Again and again we see this attitude of renouncing the benefit of action, not renouncing the action, performing actions for the sake of performing an action, pure acts, and renouncing the benefit of the action. Whatever comes, it comes on its own course. So we have that kind of a neutral attitude. So this also leads to emancipation, brings about the transformation in a person. The merging of the individuality into the larger individuality of the Absolute, however vaguely understood. We are constantly, the theme is always merging. We have no trouble understanding our individuality. As an individual person, we experience ourselves. We know who we are, where we are. That is our individuality. And then we have the larger individuality when we speak of the Absolute. That is the eternal, the thought transcending, the immobile, the unmanifested, all-pervading, formless spirit. That is another individuality. That is the individuality of the Supreme, the Spirit of God. And we have to merge this little individuality into that individuality, like a drop of water merging into the ocean. It loses its individual nature as a drop. It has become part of the ocean. But its essential nature is still of water. The drop was water, the ocean is also water. Similarly, our little consciousness that is working in us as our individual is the same consciousness that is belonging to the cosmic consciousness. But once we merge, we also experience that expansiveness. We can also experience that universal consciousness, but not before we merge ourselves. So that merging is assisted when we have this attitude, when we say we do actions for you, we take refuge in you, we renounce the fruits of our actions, but we don't renounce the action. We keep performing the actions with the aim in mind that we will ultimately be merging with the Absolute, with God. Shreyo hi jnanan abhyasad jnanat dhyanam visishyate dhyanat karma phalatyagas tyagat shantir anantaram. Better indeed is knowledge than practice, because better to have some knowledge, otherwise practice can be blind. If somebody is practicing any discipline, he must have knowledge, so knowledge is better. Better than knowledge, meditation. Meditation deepens our understanding, so it is better to have meditation. Better than meditation, renunciation of the fruit of action, because with renunciation comes peace. There cannot be peace without renunciation. So with that, the discussion ends, and now a list of characteristics are given which suggest the ideal devotee. Who is a bhakta? Is a bhakta a person who wears a lot of garlands, who visits the temples and goes for tirtha yatras? Yes, we call them also a bhakta, but that is only an external form. To be a more serious bhakta, we have to have these qualities. Adveshta sarva bhutanam, maitriya karuna evacha, nirmamo nirahankaraha, samadukha sukha kshami. Adveshta means no dvesha. Dvesha means hatred, dislike. He has no hatred, sarva bhutanam, towards all creatures. Eva maitreha. Maitreha karuna. Karuna means compassion, and mudita means cheerfulness. Here it is slightly different. He says no hatred towards all beings, and who is friendly, who has this mitrata. And karunaha. Karuna means compassion. Compassion means your passion and the other person's passion become equalized, and you feel empathy. If you can sense another person's pain or another person's problem, you want to reach out of compassion. See, even the wise teachers teach out of compassion. They have reached wisdom, and they look and they see the other person is struggling and he does not know. So I shall teach him out of compassion so that he can also be raised. So that is the nature, having compassion. Nirmamaha, and free from possessiveness, mindness. Mama means mine. Nir means no, not having that sense of possessiveness. It means we have more generous attitude. We have a sense of sharing. We are able to share. We have a sense of liberalness. So that comes with the idea of nirmamaha. Nirahankaraha. You don't have any egoism. Samadukha sukha kshami. And this is another great quality which suggests contemplation. With the help of contemplation, we arrive at a state of mind in which we treat sukh and dukh as equal. Two sides of the same coin. We are equal. Whether we are in pain or whether we are in pleasure, we have an equal, even-mindedness. And we are kshami. Somebody has done us a wrong, but we always forgive. So even in the other religions, Christianity, Buddhism, they always speak of forgiveness. We have the sense of forgiving. Then we have samtushtaha satatam yogi, yatatma drida nishchayaha, maya arpita manobuddhir, yo madbhaktaha same priyaha. This is the kind of a person who likes to be left alone, peace with himself. He is not bothered about the world, and the world does not bother much about him. Say yogi, satatam, always, samtushtaha, who is always contented. Yatatma. Yati is one who is self-controlled. Yatatma means one whose self is controlled, self-control. Drida nishchayaha. Nishchaya means whatever you take up, whatever resolve you have, you are drid in that, you are firm. Arpita mano buddhir. So what are you offering to God now? You are not offering just a flower and a fruit, but you are offering your man and buddhi. You say, may my mind and may my intellect become your instrument. May I become an instrument of the divine, whose mind and instrument are dedicated in me. He who is my devotee is dear to me. Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no advijate chayah, harsham harshabhyog vegair, mukto yah sache me priyah. There is no Puranic kind of exaggeration. You see, in our Hindu scriptures, we have a very rich culture, so much variety and color. And in the Puranas, we find that there are exaggerations. But in the Gita, we see everything is very sober. It is free from exaggerations. Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chayah. From whom the world is not disturbed. So the yogi is not a person who disturbs the world. He will not create any commotion. And he is not disturbed by the world either. Harsha, amarsha, bhaya, udvegaha. So these are the normal qualities of ours. That is, harsha means joy, happiness. Amarsha means hate. And bhaya means fear. So these three qualities which can upset a person, create problems for a person. They come in the yogi's life, but they do not get out of control. They are not exaggerated. They are kept within the sway of the person's reasoning mind. So he never lets them get those things out of control. Sa priyame, he too is dear to me. Anapekshaha suchir dakshaha, udasino gatavyataha, sarvarambha parityagi, yo madbhaktaha same priyaha. Yaha anapeksha means one who has no expectations. Half the problems of mankind are because they harbor expectations. So they cannot experience life spontaneously. But if you have no expectations, everything comes spontaneously. Everything happens with joy. Suchi dakshaha. Suchi means who is clean. Dakshaha means expert. And udaseens are people who are unconcerned, indifferent. Gatavyataha, and one who is carefree. Sarva arambha parityagi, who has relinquished all undertakings. So there is no sloppiness in this person's life. When you say daksha, it means you are awake. When you say suchi, it means you are not sloppy, you are all neat, tidy, well organized. And he is awake to the details of a situation. When you say daksha, person is daksha, expert, it means every situation has so many details. And if you are awake to many details, then you can call yourself a daksha. And sarvarambha parityagi means you have a tendency to flow along with the stream. You relinquish all undertakings. As life is taking you along, you also flow with the stream. Sa mat bhaktaha, he my devotee is dear to me. Yo na hrishyati na dveshti, na sochati na kankshati, subha subha parityagi, bhaktiman yah same priyah. Yah na hrishyati, this is rejoicing. When good happens, not too much of rejoicing. Na dveshti na sochati. Sochati means shoka. Shoka means grief, sorrow, depression. So we have the word shudra that comes from shokam dravati. Dravati means to soak. A person who is soaked in shoka, who is completely immersed in shoka, is a shudra. So that shoka, grief never comes to the life of a yogi. Nor hate, no dveshti. Na kankshati, nor desires. And who subha asubha parityagi. Both the shubh and the ashubh. He has relinquished both the beneficial and the harmful. So this raises the devotee to the Upanishadic level of mysticism. When we are talking of the Upanishadic level, we have reached that high state of evolution in a human being's consciousness or human being's personality, where he has got over all these dual factors in life, over which much of humanity is tormented. Such a one endowed with devotion is dear to me. So there is no ostentation like the tulsi leaf, just to show that you have been to the temple, and that creates a good impression in the public eye. But the devotee mentioned here has no such ostentation. It is all his or her inner state of quality. Samaha shatrau cha mitre che tatha manapamana yoho shitoshna sukha dukkheshu samasanga vivarjitaha. Samaha, shatru and mitre, one who treats the friend and the foe alike. Tatha manapamana yoho. Mana means honor and apamana means dishonor. Who is equal in honor and dishonor. If people are honoring or people are dishonoring, person is equal-minded. Samaha. And Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkheshu. Shita is the cold. Ushna means heat. Sukha and Dukha are the pleasure and pain. We always find gradations here from the physical, psychological, social and spiritual levels. So when you talk of Shita Ushna, heat and cold, that is the physical level. When we talk honor and dishonor, then we are talking in the social level. When we talk of pleasure and pain, we are talking of the mental level. The mind experiences pleasure and pain. And when we balance these out, then all the levels from the physical, social, mental, all these levels of our mind, personality, they become harmonized, they become equalized, and we become carefree, we become freed. Tulya ninda stutir mauni, samtushto yena kenachit, aniketah sthiramatir, bhaktiman me priyo naraha. Tulya means to balance, equal. Ninda and stuti, these are the two possibilities. People will either do ninda or stuti. If you go somewhere, people will praise you. That is the stuti. They will sing your glories, they will sing your praises. Or you go in some other group, they will start ninda, that is censuring you, criticizing. So ninda and stuti, if you have the ability to see them both equally, treat them with tulya, sameness. And who is a mauni, not too much of chattering. And who is samtushtaha, content, yena kenachit, with anything whatever. This is especially applicable to people who seriously take up into the path of yoga and want to renounce the world. Then whatever comes along their way, they are happy with it. Samtushta yena kenachit. Aniketaha, having no fixed abode. This especially refers to the people who are on the path of renunciation. Sthiramatir, mentally constant. Naraha bhaktiman, such a man of devotion, priyamehe, is dear to me. See, aniketaha means, we talk of Niketan, that is home, Shanti Niketan, the abode of peace, Tagore's school. But this is aniketaha. Aniketaha means he has no constant place in the physical world. But sthiramatir means he is constant in the mental sphere. His mati or his buddhi is constant. So even though the person is wandering all over, his mind is loyal, his mind is fixed on certain ideals. Normally people are fixed in a place, but their mind is wandering all over. Their Niketan is fixed, but their mati will be wandering all over. Here it is the opposite. He has no constant place because he is constantly moving or shifting, but his mind's ideals are constantly fixed. Yetu dharmya amritamidam yathoktam paryupasate shraddhana mat parama bhaktaste ativa me priyaha. So, but they who cherish devotedly this righteous immortal value, as stated, endowed with faith with me for the Supreme, those devotees are exceedingly dear to me. Idam dharmyam amritam, this righteous immortal value. So it's very interesting. What was the original question of Arjuna? Whether a personal God is to be worshipped or whether impersonal. But in final answer, it is not a person that is referred to here, but idam dharmya amritam, righteous immortal value. Yatha uktam refers to all those not covered by the specific references. So this devotion which implies peace has its start in wisdom and its main expression in renunciation. So the man of philosophical visions gives higher place than those who conform to the requirements of devotion. So we see everywhere that it is the philosophical ideal which is upheld, and it is the righteous immortal value that is to be honored, not the person. He does not say that those who worship me, but he says those who cherish devotedly this righteous immortal value, as stated, endowed with faith, with me for the Supreme, those devotees are exceedingly dear to me. So that is the concept of bhakti according to the Gita. Keeping these immortal values and having shraddha, having faith, dhanaha, endowed with faith, that is your wealth. Your wealth is the wealth of faith. Mat paramaha, with me for the Supreme, te bhaktaha. Always keeping the ideal, the goal in front as the Supreme, and that is the Lord. The Lord is the Supreme. And cherishing all the time these immortal values. That is the true nature of a bhakta. So you can see clearly that it has everything to do with our inner attitude. It is an attitude, not an outward way of life, but an inner way of how we perceive, how we behave, how we react to the world. What is our attitude towards the world, towards all of this universe, in fact, starting from sarva bhuteshu, sarva hita, thinking of the welfare of all beings, and taking on that kind of responsibility that you are interested in the welfare of all, and that you are working as a yogi, that you are constantly trying to balance the pairs of opposites. The benefit of yoga, if practiced in this way, of constantly balancing the pairs of opposites, straightaway leads to detachment from the world. The unnecessary aspects of the world start dropping off. The non-essential and that which is not of any worth. The worthless things start dropping off. And the essential things which are really useful, which are really important and which need to be really done, the mind will be focused on that and not on the unnecessary things, superficialities. To get to that level, we have to practice this art of balancing pairs of opposites and getting all the passionate tendencies of the mind out by being alert and watchful. Suchi Dakshaha, when he says, by becoming more alert to all the details of every situation. And with it, realizing that it is the Lord who is ultimately doing everything. We are only instruments and we allow ourselves to become worthy instruments. Now here, Gita does not say that any particular path is superior or inferior. Whatever is our duty, whatever is our role in life, with that we worship the Lord. In the 18th chapter, that slok will come, where he says, that being which is pervading everything, that being is worshipped by swakarmani, everybody's own karma. By doing one's own karma, a person worships siddhim labhate naraha. Worshipping this which pervades all, a person attains the siddhi, perfection. So the Gita frees us from all the dogmas of religion and all the unnecessary superficialities and gives us an essential teaching of how we can live a spiritual life and how we can be devoted to the Absolute and how we can become devotees by bringing about this change in our attitude, cultivating more and more contemplative values and the yogic values, having the yoga buddhi in our way of understanding life. That itself brings a maturity. Automatically maturity comes. Detachment comes. We begin to see the world as a great drama which is going on all the time, in which we are also participating for the good of all. Sarva bhute hite vrataha. So that is a great help to lead a life of salvation, lead a life of goodness as a devotee. So this is the words of Sri Krishna himself. He says, these are the ones who are dear to me, those who have this way of understanding, this way of living. If you look at it critically, now many of these chapters now have come as diagnosis. They come as diagnosis for self-analysis. We can see how many of these qualities we have, how many of these qualities we don't have, how many of these qualities we are able to apply in our situation in life, how many of these qualities appear very, very distant from us today, but one day we shall also attain them. So it has to be put into practice, then you become a bhakta. So along with our regular kriyas that we do, we should bring these thoughts into our life and apply them.